Well, my predictions weren't that good for this season, but nevertheless, we finally made it to the NFL playoffs. And with that, we need to find the 60th Super Bowl winner in the history of the NFL. Here is the playoff bracket for this year. Starting off right, we have the Steelers versus the Texans, and automatically, I'm just going to take the Texans. The Steelers are good at winning, but the Texans are just a strong team, strong defense, and I think they're going to be able to get over the Steelers with relative ease. Following that is the Jaguars versus the Bills. Jaguars possibly have the hottest offense in the league. However, the Bills have the history of making the playoffs in the past 5 years. A lot of people have the Bills winning this game. However, I think the Jaguars are just on a streak right now, handling business. I think the Jaguars will win this game. Then the 2 versus 7 seed, we have the Patriots versus the Chargers. A lot of people also think the Chargers are good for a 7 seed. However, I think the Patriots, Drake May, are going to be able to handle it, and they're going to be able to win this game. Over to the NFC, we have the Panthers versus the Rams. The Panthers, I don't even know how they made it into the playoffs. They are 8-9. This is one of the worst playoff teams I've ever seen record-wise, and they're hosting a 12-5 team within the Rams. Give me the Rams. Then we have the Eagles versus the 49ers. The 49ers, however, for a 6 seed are very good, sitting at 12-5, maybe the best 6 seed we have ever seen. And if it wasn't for the loss against the Seahawks recently, they would be one of the hottest teams in the NFL. So I'm going to take the 49ers to beat the Eagles here. And finally, we have the Bears versus the Packers, a matchup that's happened twice this year already. Both games have been an absolute thriller to watch. Both came down to the final drive, final play. And so even though it's a 2 versus 7 seed, where historically the 2 seed has dominated the 7 seed, the Packers were the 1-7 seed to win, and I think they're going to do it again this year. On to the divisional round, we have the Broncos versus the Texans. Arguably the two best defenses in the NFL. This game will be absolutely horrible to watch. I bet the combined score is going to be like 20 points. However, I do think the Broncos are going to come away with a victory here. They didn't get to the 1 seed by losing against good teams like the Texans. I think they'll be able to at least win their first game. Then we have the Jaguars versus the Patriots. The Patriots are obviously a strong team. The Jaguars, as I said, are one of the hottest offenses in the NFL. And I'm on board with the people saying that the Patriots have been beaten up on bad teams. I think the Jaguars have actually been handling business against good teams, and I think that they're going to keep their streak going and beating the Patriots now. Back over the NFC, we have the Seahawks versus the Packers. And this game's pretty simple. The Packers will be lucky to make it this far, limping into the playoffs as they are. So if they do make it here, I think the Seahawks, one of the strongest teams in the NFL, is going to steamroll them. And then the 49ers versus the Rams. This game we've seen twice this year. One went into overtime. One was a blowout by the Rams. Both these teams very experienced in the playoffs, so that can't really help here. However, I think Matthew Stafford just has the edge on the 49ers. A dynamic offense for the Rams, and I think their defense can hold the 49ers a little bit better than some teams have. Give me the Rams. For the AFC Championship, we have the Broncos versus the Jaguars. The strongest defense versus the hottest offense in the league. This game could be really good. I have no idea. And this game happened not too long ago, a couple weeks ago in fact, and the Jaguars handled business pretty well against the Broncos. However, in the playoffs, I think the Broncos gunning it for vengeance. Even if they're down in the fourth quarter, I could see them mounting a 10 to 17 point comeback to beat the Jaguars. Give me the Broncos to the Super Bowl. On the NFC side, we have another NFC East divisional matchup. The Seahawks versus the Rams. Both 2 games that these two have played this year have been cinematic, to say the least. The Seahawks are one of the strongest teams, however, so are the Rams. And this is where I think it's going to come down to experience in the playoffs. Sam Darnold, I'm sorry to say it, as good as the Seahawks have been this year, I don't think he's going to beat Matt Stafford in the AFC Championship game, a game that he won not too long ago. Don't forget the Rams won the Super Bowl like 5 years ago, give or take a few key players like Puka Nacua, and even though they lost to the Seahawks last time they played, are going to come back and win this time. So for the Super Bowl, we have the Broncos versus the Rams, the 1 versus the 5 seed. I'm pretty confident with saying these are the 2 teams that are going to make the Super Bowl. Both very strong teams that have been strong all year long. In this game, I will say the Broncos have a hit or miss offense, and that inconsistency I think will lead to their demise. The Rams have been consistently decent, whether they've had some bad losses here or there. So I will take the Rams to beat the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. Now these are just my picks. Obviously everyone this year is going to have different picks because I don't think a single person really knows what is going to happen in these coming games. So if you did disagree with any of my picks here, tell me down in the comments below what you would have done differently, and I guess only time will tell who's right and who's wrong. And if you did enjoy this video, please subscribe. It helped me out so much more than you think, and be sure to be back for the next video.